my relapse, people were wondering why it happened. Why would I pick back up if I want to be sober? And so today, I'm going to answer that question by sharing with you guys the 10 common relapse triggers. What is up? How you doing? Welcome to Raven's Passage. My name is Linda, and I help walk people through the pain of addiction to living in sobriety by sharing my journey in recovery. If this is your first time here, welcome, welcome, welcome. I have been in recovery since 2015, and I'm creating a community with like-minded people where we can talk openly, honestly, and freely about addiction and recovery. And if that sounds like something you're interested in, please show that like button some love, hang out, and let's get into it. So what is a trigger? A trigger is an emotional, environmental, or social situation that can bring up memories of past alcohol and drug use, which can then stir up emotions that can lead someone to have the impulse to want to pick up again. And for me, I had every single one of these. So let's get into it with number one. Number one, H.A.L.T. H.A.L.T is the acronym for hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And to be in any one of those states reduces the ability for someone to be able to cope with stress, which can then lead to the impulse to want to pick up. Number two, emotions. When someone is newly sober, feelings start coming back and they can be a lot. I know for me they were. And especially when there are feelings of sadness, guilt, shame, remorse, fear, and all of that just becomes this really icky feeling of uncomfortability, which can then lead someone to the impulse of wanting to pick up to just get through those. And on the flip side of that, being in an environment where it seems like, everyone's having a good time and there's drugs or there's alcohol use and there's a thought of I'm missing out. Like I feel like I'm missing out. And so the thought of I'm just going to have one tends to pop into the mind. Number three, stress. Stress is a part of everyday life, and there's no getting around that. What's hard, though, is to not have coping skills to be able to work through that stress. And so when someone is newly sober, to feel like, they're in a constant state of stress or, something happens in their life that makes them feel extra stressed without having coping skills, that can definitely lead someone to have the impulse to want to pick up to just lower that level a little bit. Number four, overconfidence. Now, self-confidence is a good thing. Definitely, we all need to have self-confidence. But overconfidence is where things can get a little sketchy. And overconfidence is basically the thinking of, I've got this, I'm fine, I've been sober this long, which then can lead to complacency. And complacency then leads to not doing what you did originally when you first started getting sober. So things like not being in the middle of a recovery around other people that are in recovery, not asking for help, not attending meetings or support groups or community organizations that have to do with recovery, and not practicing self-care. All of those things can definitely lead up to the impulse of wanting to pick up again. Number five, mental and physical illnesses. Now, there are various issues and mental illnesses like depression and anxiety that are closely connected to addiction. I live with both. I totally understand how it works. And so if not properly taken care of by a medical professional and just, running day to day without any kind of help, the feelings are intense and the triggers are even more intense, which can lead to someone wanting to pick up to just shut all of that down. And then physical illnesses, if you deal with chronic pain, as an example, I also live with chronic pain. I've had brain surgery. I've done a lot to my body. And so being in physical pain, once it gets to be a lot, can lead someone to want to pick up to just numb out the pain for a little bit. So if mental illnesses and physical illnesses are not properly attended to by a medical professional, it can definitely lead someone to want to pick up. Also, it's recommended that you talk about non-addictive, non-narcotic medications with the medical professional in order to help yourself to not relapse via medicines. Number 6, social isolation. Addiction wants to keep us by ourselves, and it will do everything to make sure we stay there. And in early sobriety, that's when we're our most vulnerable. And I once heard someone say that one side of my brain manufactures BS and the other side buys it. Which means if I'm left alone inside my head for too long, I'm going to start believing the BS that addiction is telling me, which can then lead to the impulse of wanting to pick up. Number 7, relationships. Now, as we all know, relationships can be quite interesting. And so it doesn't even have to be a romantic relationship. It can be a family member, a friend, or a coworker. And when you have a breakup or a disruption, it brings up all those feelings of pain, anger, fear, loss, not good enough, just all of that cacophony of stress, right? And not knowing how to deal with those feelings can lead to someone feeling out of control, which of course can lead someone to having the impulse to want to pick up. And being in a relationship, just trying to maneuver through that. And when you're trying to get used to having feelings and emotions, and you're trying to navigate being in a relationship and trying to do it in a healthy way, it can be a lot. It can be overwhelming. And that as well can lead someone to the impulse of wanting to pick up, which it's also suggested that in the first year of sobriety, you try to stay away from getting into a romantic relationship with anyone because, just as I previously mentioned, there's a lot of stuff to it. Number 8, getting a new job or getting a promotion. Now, who doesn't want to celebrate when you get something cool like a new job or a promotion? And as we all know, celebrations tend to be around alcohol or drug use, which can be a really high-risk situation for someone who's new in sobriety. And, you can go into it and feel like, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to drug, but to be in that environment, it's like playing Russian roulette. So definitely, getting a new job and being in an environment where there's drugs or alcohol use around you can lead to the impulse of thinking of, I'm just going to have one. And then the promotion part, usually with promotion comes more money and more responsibility. And I know for me, when I had more money, I had thoughts of, now I can drink the way I want to, or I can drink the stuff that I like to drink. And, or, I can afford to use the drug that I like because I have X amount of money. And then with the more responsibility comes more stress. And as we know, as I mentioned before, more stress can lead to the impulse of, I'm just going to have one. Number 9, nostalgia and romanticizing. So nostalgia is basically, especially if you're left alone with your own thoughts without someone else to check you, nostalgia is remembering the wins, right? Like the good old days and all the fun stuff and all the good stuff and all the funny stuff of when you were drinking. But somehow we forget all the bad stuff that we've done, right? So if there's not somebody there to check my feelings and my thoughts, I'm going to remember all the goods and forget all the bads because I have a built-in forgetter. And the romanticizing part is just making my drinking look way better than what it really was, right? Like, I did not drink like a lady. I didn't drink eloquently and gracefully and whatever. You know what I mean? Like, none of my drinks flowed like you see in commercials. I was never in the environments that you see on ads. But I can tell myself that I drank like that, right? I can tell myself that, this time it'll be different, right? Like, I can drink like a lady. I just need to change the environment that I was in, the people that I drank with. Yeah, no. So the thinking of like the remember whens and the romanticizing without the help of someone checking my deranged thoughts can definitely lead to the impulse of wanting to pick up. Number 10. Social situations, environments that we've used or drank in before, or places where drugs or alcohol is present. Now, this is a common trigger for a lot of people. And to be in a place where we've used before is, it's a really, really scary place to be in, especially when you're newly sober. And to be in an environment where people are having a good time and drugs and alcohol are present, sports games, clubs, parties, friend's house, uncle's house, hanging out on the corner with friends, all of those situations, it's absolutely a place where it's really easy to pick up before it even happened. And I know for me, there was many times where I was like, I'll be fine. I've got this. I'm not going to pick up. I don't want to drink. I don't want to drug. But before I knew it, I was so wrapped up in the environment and the people and places and the things going on around me that I was so convinced. My addiction had me so convinced that this time it would be different. And before I knew it, I had a drink in my hand, I had something else in my hand, and I was on my way. And there we have it, the 10 common relapse triggers. And every single one of them is part of my story. Not just once, not just twice, but 3 times and then some. So what are your thoughts? What do you think about this video? Was this helpful to you at all? Did you know what a trigger was? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you. I am all about interaction, connection, and learning from others. And you will see me down in those comments replying to each and every one. And in my next video, we are going to be talking about the 3 stages of relapse. So be sure to hit that card at the end of this video. It'll take you right to it. And if you did enjoy this video, please show that like button some love. In doing so, it'll help get it around YouTube some more, which it'll get in front of the people that could benefit from hanging out here with us. I would be so grateful for you to do that. Thank you so much. And most importantly, I want you to remember that you are worthy, you are loved, and you are enough. And be nice to yourself. Till next time, my lovelies. Huge hugs. Bye.